She knows that that would be unacceptable to Parliament, but she also knows how damaging no deal would be in terms of security as well as jobs and the economy. So will she confirm that it would be better to apply for an extension to Article 50 than to crash out with no deal?
No, can I say to the Right Honourable Lady that I do not believe that we should be extending Article 50. I've been very clear that we should not be extending Article 50, and I'm a little bemused by her first suggestion. We have legislated for a process here in Parliament that ensures that there will be not just the deliberations that this House will rightfully have on the Withdrawal Agreement and Implementation Bill, but there will be a meaningful vote in this House prior to that. Honourable members on the Labour benches say when. Of course, we're still in negotiations with the European Union in terms of delivering on the deal, and we continue to work to the timetable that has recently been set out.
Anna Soubry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Would my right honourable friend agree with me that this is not what Leave voters voted for? Leave voters and businesses in Broxtowe were promised a deal on trade, not after we've left the European Union, but at the time that we leave the European Union. They were told it would be the easiest deal in the history of trade deals. They were told it would convey the exact same benefits as our membership of the single market and the customs union. What we now see is complete chaos and a total mess. Would the Prime Minister consider that if her government can't get a grip on this, if Parliament can't get a grip on this, then it's time to face up to the fact that Brexit cannot be delivered, take it back to the people and have a people's vote?
Can I say to my right honourable friend that, as I have consistently said on this issue, this Parliament voted overwhelmingly to give the choice to the British people as to whether to leave or remain in the European Union. The people voted to leave the European Union, and I believe it is a matter of faith in our democracy, of the integrity of politicians, that we deliver for people on that vote. And I also say to my right honourable friend that that's why I think it is so important that we recognise there is talk of a people's vote going back to people for a vote. The people were given a vote. The people's vote happened in 2016 and the people voted to leave.
Mr. Nigel Dodds.
Border on the island of Ireland, which nobody wants. It can never be right that we have any kind of borders in the Irish Sea between Northern Ireland and the rest of the United Kingdom. She knows that we cannot support any deal that creates a border of any kind in the Irish Sea. Not my words, the words of Ruth Davidson, the leader of the Scottish Conservatives. Will she confirm today, as she has said in her statement, that a proposed backstop that would see Northern Ireland carved off in the EU customs union and parts of the single market separated through a border in the Irish Sea from the UK's own internal market could never be accepted? She has said that today. Would she confirm its single market and customs union, the UK leaving the EU together with no part hived off either in the single market or customs union differences?
When the UK leaves the when the UK leaves the European Union, it will be the UK that leaves the European Union. We will be leaving the European Union together. I'm very clear there should be no hard border between Northern Ireland and Ireland, but as we've put forward proposals, we can deliver on that and maintain the integrity of our union. And of course, what we're looking at in relation to the, and we made that very clear when the European Union made their proposal that would effectively have carved Northern Ireland away from the rest of the United Kingdom in their backstop proposal. It's precisely because we cannot accept their backstop to a backstop because they continue to want to see that. In fact, what we want to see in a backstop is a situation where Northern Ireland businesses can both export freely to Great Britain and to the European Union. Actually, that would be a good position for the Northern Ireland businesses.
John Redwood.
Trying to sign a withdrawal agreement without having legally binding text on the future partnership would leave the UK in a deeply vulnerable position and unable to negotiate properly. So will she confirm today that in her view no deal is still a lot better than a bad deal, and a bad deal is giving £39 billion away that we need to spend on our priorities for no good reason?
Can I say to my right honourable friend, I still believe that no deal is better than a bad deal. I am still working for what I believe is the best outcome for the UK, which is a good negotiated deal with the European Union for the future. But of course we continue with our no deal preparations. We have of course indicated in relation to the financial settlement, as my right honourable friend will know, the discussions that have already, negotiations have already taken place on that. But what we're also clear about is the importance of linking the withdrawal agreement to the future relationship, such that we cannot find ourselves in a limbo situation, and that we are able to see that future relationship committed to by the European Union and put in place, as I say, I want to see put in place on the 1st of January 2021.
Pat McFadden.
Mr. Speaker, this issue of the Irish border is a direct result of the willful dismissal of its importance before the referendum campaign and the willful disregard of its importance by leading Brexit advocates since the referendum took place. They now advocate a Canada-style free trade agreement. Will the Prime Minister confirm that one of the reasons that she rejects a Canada-style agreement as being completely unsuitable for the UK is not only because of the huge economic damage it would do to industries dependent on multinational supply chains, but also because it would result in a hard border which would break commitments that this country has made?
Can I say to the right honourable gentleman that, of course, what we have seen from the European Union is that a Canada-style deal is not actually available or be on offer for the whole of the United Kingdom. It's only on offer for Great Britain, with Northern Ireland actually effectively carved out from the rest of the United Kingdom. But certainly the proposals that the government has put forward following the discussions that the Cabinet had in July at Chequers are focused on a free trade deal with frictionless trade at its heart. And of course a Canada deal does not deliver on frictionless trade and therefore does not deliver the absolute guarantee of no hard border between Northern Ireland or Ireland, or indeed frictionless trade at our other borders.
Nicky Morgan.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister is right to say that a negotiated deal is the best outcome for the United Kingdom. She's also right to say that protecting the Union is of fundamental importance to members on all sides of the Brexit debate on these benches. But as we just heard from my right honourable friend, the member for Wokingham, there are people who disagree with her statement where she says it would leave us with a no-deal outcome that no one wants. There are people in this House, on these benches, who want a no-deal outcome. The member is nodding. Can I say to the Prime Minister that people in this country are now really concerned and worried about a no-deal? Businesses, EU citizens living here, British citizens living in the EU. Can I urge the Prime Minister to make sure we do not slip into any kind of no-deal scenario, because this House, I believe, will not support it and therefore would have to step into the negotiations.
Can I say to my right honourable friend, as I said earlier in response to a question, I am clear that we are working to get a good deal for the whole of the United Kingdom. But it is also right that we continue our preparations for no deal, because we do not know what the outcome of those negotiations will be. And I think it is right that we ensure that the deal that we bring back is a good deal for the whole of the United Kingdom.
Liz Kendall.
Does the Prime Minister stand by the commitment made by the Brexit Secretary to this House last week that the government will publish a specific end date to the Irish backstop as part of the withdrawal agreement?
As I've said earlier, both in my statement and in response to other questions, one of the issues that we are discussing with the European Union remains this issue of ensuring that there is the backstop has a temporary arrangement, and that we cannot be kept in a permanent relationship of that sort with the European Union. The backstop is intended there as an insurance policy for the people of Northern Ireland. I don't want that backstop ever to be put in place. I want to ensure we negotiate a future relationship that can start at the end of the implementation period.
Sir Peter Bottomley.
After the referendum, the large majority of MPs across the House were elected to help this country negotiate a future which is outside the EU, with trade arrangements which are sensible and which allow us to use our control over money, borders and the like in a way that is beneficial to us and beneficial to others. Can my right honourable friend assure our negotiating partners that less friction is better than more friction?
Yes, can I say to my honourable friend that precisely because we believe in the value of frictionless trade, that we have put forward a proposal that would indeed deliver on frictionless trade.
Ben Bradshaw.
Mr. Speaker, it must be obvious to the Prime Minister that there's no majority in this place for a hard or no deal a Brexit, and she can't do the sensible thing on customs union and single market because half her party in the DUP won't let her. So is she never tempted by the suggestion of her honourable friend, the member for Broxtowe, that the way out of this mess for her and for the country will be a people's vote?
No. I'm going to repeat again what I have said to the, in response to the right honourable gentleman. The people had a vote in 2016. It was in a referendum. This Parliament gave the people that vote, and the people voted to leave, and that's what we will deliver.
Justine Greening.
Whether leave or remain, we can all agree that in the past Britain may have pooled its sovereignty, but we've never just given it away. Does the Prime Minister accept that the Common Rule Book represents a unique loss of sovereignty for Britain, but that for the first time we will have tied the hands of future generations to be bound by rules that they will have had no chance to write?
No, I'm afraid I don't agree with my right honourable friend on that definition that he set out, precisely because the proposal that we have put forward involves a parliamentary lock, and it will be this Parliament that will decide on those rules, whether we adopt those rules and whether we adopt any further changes to those rules.
Mr. Christopher Leslie.
The Prime Minister's problem that she's dancing to the tune of the hard Brexiteers, the duo from Uxbridge and Somerset, and that we shouldn't therefore be surprised that she's taking the country towards an inferior, low-grade, hard Brexit FTA deal. Will she give an undertaking that when this House, when members of Parliament look at that deal and decide actually it isn't right for the country, and that if we decide a different course, she will respect the decision of members of Parliament to put this question to a people's vote?
The right honourable gentleman will know full well that it is very clearly set out what the process would be, what the procedure would be, were it to be the case that this government were to bring a proposal back to this House and the meaningful vote was not to support that particular proposal.
Mr. Patterson.
Speaker, what are the cross-border transactions between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland which so threaten the integrity of the European single market and customs union that they cannot be resolved by existing techniques, existing processes, under existing law, none of which require hard infrastructure on the border?
Can I say to my right honourable friend that there are arrangements that, in relation to customs checks, that would be put in place were it not the case that we had come to an agreement to have a customs arrangement that did not require those checks to take place. Now, I have seen and have heard of a number of proposals for technical solutions to deal with those issues. I have to say to my right honourable friend, some of those technical solutions effectively involve moving the border, and it would still be a border. Some involve equipment which could come under attack, and some involve a degree of state surveillance which, frankly, I think would not be acceptable in Northern Ireland.
Joanna Cherry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's reported today that the Prime Minister wants the meaningful vote to take place on the 27th of November. The 27th of November is the same day as the European Court of Justice will hear the Scottish Court's referral on the question of whether Article 50 can be unilaterally revoked. My question for the Prime Minister is she afraid of MPs knowing the answer to that question before we have the meaningful vote?
First of all, the Honourable Lady is making an assumption about the date of the meaningful vote, and of course we're still in negotiations. And secondly, no, because the point about the Article 50 and whether or not Article 50 can be revoked, is that this government will not be revoking Article 50. We're going to keep Article 50.
Mr. Damien Green.
The government was clearly right to reject that part of the Commission's proposals that would have threatened the integrity of the United Kingdom, but it's salutary that what the European Commission produced was a deal that would have been worse than no deal. Despite that, can my right honourable friend assure me and the House that she will continue to work very hard to make sure that we get a deal, because I believe that apart from a relatively small number of people who genuinely believe that no deal would be a good thing for this country, and apart from a few people who would vote against a deal for purely partisan reasons, there is an enormous majority in this House for a negotiated settlement to this procedure.
Well, I can give my right honourable friend that assurance. We will continue to work for a good deal, because I believe a good deal is the best outcome for the people of the United Kingdom.
Angela Regal.
Mr. Speaker, the DUP who sustain the Prime Minister in office have made it clear that they think no deal is almost inevitable. What does she think?
We continue to work for a good deal for the whole of the United Kingdom.
Mr. Dominic Grieve.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish my right honourable friend every good thing in this negotiation. But I do point out to her that we are heading towards a conclusion where we are going to be in a at least two-year relationship with the EU, which is a condition of vassalage because we have absolutely no say in the rule-making, but we are tied to it. And then, in fact, we're going to be bound by a common rule book afterwards, even if she's successful. And I have to say to her that in those circumstances, I will not be able to support the government in this unless this matter is put to the British people again. It's entirely different from what was discussed and negotiated during the referendum in 2016.
Can I say gently to my right honourable friend, I think I recall the time when he was in favour of the government negotiating an implementation period for our withdrawal from the European Union to bridge that point between our leaving on the 29th of March 2019 and the point at which the future relationship would come into place. We have set out the reasons why I think it is important for us to ensure that at the heart of our future relationship is a free trade deal which has frictionless trade at its heart. That is a good trade deal for the United Kingdom, but which also enables us to undertake good trade deals with others around the world.
Emma Little-Pengelly.
Can the Prime Minister give a firm commitment that nothing will be agreed with the European Union that would exclude Northern Ireland from any part of any future UK trade deals?
We will be negotiating trade deals in the future. In the future relationship, we will be negotiating trade deals on behalf of the whole of the United Kingdom, including Northern Ireland.
Mr. Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
It was one that the UK government could not accept.
Of a backstop serve only to illustrate the fact that the Prime Minister has actually wasted the last 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely right.
No.
Antoinette Sandbach.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Employees in the car manufacturing, pharmaceuticals and food and drink manufacturing sector in Edinburgh want to manufacture to a single rule book with frictionless trade. Can the Prime Minister confirm this remains her negotiating position?
Yes, we continue to negotiate on the basis that the best deal for the future is one which has frictionless trade at its heart. That will be good for businesses here, good for jobs and livelihoods here, but will also be a deal that will deliver on the vote of the British people. Consistent approach in relation to that. This government has set out our approach in Lancaster House and has followed that through at every stage of these negotiations.
Stephen Crabb.
Speaker. When it comes to signing the political declaration on the future relationship, would my right honourable friend confirm that that declaration will be clear, it will be specific and it will be binding so that business does have more certainty and that we don't just begin another period of Brexit fog and uncertainty?
Can I say to my right honourable friend that and this is precisely why we want to ensure that there is a proper linkage between the withdrawal agreement and the future relationship,